Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we made this monstrosity. Now, to be clear, this is not what I'm planning on flying. Not in the slightest. What I'm trying to do right now is compile a list of parts that we're going to need, and I'm thinking we're going to send this in probably two flights, somewhere around there, where one of them is going to be intended to be disassembled on site and built into a little outpost. This is not intended to be large. This is not intended to be the surviving Duna mission at this point. This is a Pathfinder mission. So what we're going to do for now is we're going to run a quick simulation. So I'm going to save this quick, and I'm going to drop all of this. We're going to put this out on the pad, and we're just going to place this over the moon as of right now. So we're going to put it on the moon. I don't really care where on the moon it goes. It's completely irrelevant right now. We're just going to put it there, and we're going to run a simulated experience on how this ends up going. So we're going to see what we're missing is the goal here. So let's just take this over to the moon real quick. So we'll set position on the moon at an altitude of, we'll call it 10. Ease to ground, pitch of 90 degrees. I don't care where on the moon it goes. This is fine. So we're going to load into the moon here, and we'll just set this down on the surface, and hopefully the auger will be able to reach. If not, we may have to do something about that. So this is where we're going to be coming down. I believe this is where we were before anyway, so that's, absolutely fine. By the way, there was a new NVIDIA graphics driver update that I installed, and I don't know if it's actually helping. We'll find out. So, do we have ground contact? No. Okay. So, we could retract our landing legs. That would cause us to tip over, almost certainly. So we can lower the auger with Kerbal construction. Now, currently we are sliding down this hill, and that's understood. If we physics warp this, insufficient resource abundance. Oh, okay. So this is telling us that the resource abundance of the auger that was turned on, the auger made momentary ground contact. So that was telling us that the auger that was turned on didn't have sufficient resource abundance in this area. So that's understood. We're not going to be landing in this area, most likely. Okay, let's move. That's not the button I wanted. Let's move our position here. So I'm going to use middle mouse click to set the position. We're going to set the position about there. Pitch of 90, please. There we go. So this is going to be pretty much down the hill, although it's not entirely down the hill. And we're just going to ease our way on in. And the question is, do we have sufficient abundance here? Well, this is currently claiming no ground contact. We'll get all of these started up, and we will find out if we have ground contact. So this is now saying insufficient abundance when we started warping. They're all still going. I'm wondering what this is doing to our electric charge. Okay, noted. So yeah, we would need to lower these. That's fine. That's not a concern. What we need right now is to just get to a relatively flat location. So we could just scooch down this hill, or we could just say, you know what? Let's just hop over here. It's maybe a little flatter. So we'll just do this for now. This is maybe a little flatter. Maybe actually down here. Okay. This is still not as flat as I'd like it to be. It's not actually choosing the position very well, is it? There we go. That's more like where I wanted to be. Okay. So we're going to continue to go a bit downhill this way, I feel like. Yeah, we're still sliding there. So let's come down here. This looks relatively flat. But the real question is, are we going to have any metal ore here? Well, metal ore rate, 0.05. Hang on, are we actually getting metal ore? No. Okay, that's what I thought. So, as a hypothetical, if we were to do this... Okay. We're a little tippy doing this. This is not surprising. This is claiming, oh, this is now saying operational. Are we getting ore? Yes, we are. Okay, so we have some form of ore at this point. This is operational. This one should be no ground contact, which is fine. I don't mind that. So we have some amount of ore coming in here. Okay, and this contract is complete. We're going to be reverting this, so that's absolutely fine. So we've built up a little bit of carbon dioxide. Our electricity is running out. This is not surprising. We have not extended our solar panels in any meaningful capacity. So there's these solar panels, and then there's these solar panels. And these are the real ones that are going to be generating us our power. So we'll get those extended out, and you can see our electric charge building right back up. So that looks good for now, and we can start farming here. Okay, so the greenhouse is at 250% load. So that's generating waste. Okay. So for now, our food should remain relatively maxed. The greenhouse here, this shouldn't actually do anything until our food drops. This is just replenishing our existing food. So my question now is, do we actually have a workhouse? Or rather, do we have a workshop? I don't think we do. So scrap metal remelter. That's interesting. So we can start this metal conversion here. It's at 0.00% efficiency. So why is that? Ah. We turned on the scrap metal remelter, and now it's going up in efficiency. Okay. So the smelter is increasing in efficiency. It is now making metal. So in theory, we can now use the milling lathe to start part production on rocket parts. In theory. So yeah, you can see we're starting to get some rocket parts here. We don't have any ore right now. That's understood. So the other parts that we're going to need, of course, is we've got this life support waste container. This is filling up with carbon dioxide quickly. That's noted. I wonder what happens when that fills. We'll find out. So we'll start our water purifier, and then we've got our greenhouse container here. This is our waste container. We have somewhere here. I'm pretty sure somewhere here we have the ability to generate additional oxygen. I'm not sure exactly where. Is it this guy? No, that's a waste container. This is filling up very, very rapidly with carbon dioxide. So that is absolutely noted. So we're just doing some experimentation here right now, right? And that's understood. I believe that we need a workshop still before anything else can happen here. That's the current theory. We can deploy this drill, but for the time being, I'm not going to do that. We don't actually need it right now. Now, these augers have no ground contact. There's no point in running them. They are, after all, just draining electricity that we don't need to drain. So that seems fine for now. And there's that recycle bin there. So I think we don't have a way right now. Or no, we generate oxygen from the greenhouse converter, or the greenhouse container, don't we? Yeah, that gets our carbon dioxide going. But our carbon dioxide is going to fill up. And my question is, what happens when that fills up? We're going to find out. We can store a lot of carbon dioxide. And it's about full already. It's filling up very, very rapidly. Okay, so carbon dioxide is now full. The smelter is still smelting. The milling lathe is still milling. I think we're just jettisoning the carbon dioxide, the excess carbon dioxide. So that's not a terrible thing then. Okay, so that sounds good for now. We've got the ISRU to be able to make additional fuel. So at this point, we should have a theoretically infinite-ish amount of oxygen. Now, we may not be net equal on oxygen. That's a distinct possibility. I see we're down by 3 right now. So that's noted. The greenhouse container should be producing at least some of that. Now, our fertilizer is not going down right now. Let's take this up to warp here. Okay, I'm noting our liquid fuel is dropping. So to that end, we can simply deploy these drills. And this is going to maybe cause us some potential issues here in terms of our orientation, but that's fine. Okay, and we're going to start this surface harvester. Okay, this one has no ground contact. That's understood. That's fine. This one has ground contact. Insufficient resource abundance needs at least 2.5%. Interesting. So it's these drills that require at least 2.5%. Noted. That's something that we can figure out when we're going to place the actual craft, right? So that's understood. Yeah, this one is not actually going here, unfortunately. I wish it was, but it is not. So with that in mind, we don't really have a way to get ore because of our physical location, not because we're missing a part. So we can see that our oxidizer is not full. Our liquid fuel is not full. So we can start our ISRU, liquid fuel plus oxidizer. But we're missing ore for this, right? So that's not terribly shocking that that's not working. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to have Bill EVA, all hatches are obstructed. Ah, it's because of this. Okay, yeah. That's obviously a problem. So we would need to have an airlock that's open for that. This is a fundamental design flaw, but of course this is not the design that we're actually going with this. So I think that what we need here is a workshop, but I think this proves that pretty much everything else is functional. Let's warp forward a little bit here. And let's watch how we're doing on everything. We can see our water is staying even. Our food is staying even. Our oxygen is slightly decreasing. Okay. So that's noted. Let's pull this right on back to vehicle assembly. We have learned most of what we need to know, I feel like. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we do need to have some sort of an oxygen scrubber here, I think. So this is going to be a carbon extractor here. Inputs carbon dioxide, outputs oxygen. So that'll be absolutely fine. We'll just put that right up there for now. So that addresses that issue. That puts some of our carbon dioxide to use, and that should mean that we are net positive on oxygen. Okay. So that looks good. And then we're going to need all of these components in a container, ideally. And we also need a workshop here of some sort. So this is an EL survey station and EL workshop. Okay. That's noted. This is an orbital mass detector. It detects kethane. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about kethane right now. We'll figure that out a little later on. This is a rocket workbench. So that's an EL converter, part production. Okay. Workshop with productivity factor of 1. So I think what we need is something with this EL workshop component to it. That's what we're looking for here. So this construction workshop would do the trick, but that is, of course, huge. Absolutely enormous. And that's probably bigger than what we need here. So we can produce parts with our milling lathe. I'm not too concerned about that. This is an EL launch pad and an EL target. Okay, that's noted. So this is a rocket workbench here. That is also extremely large. So that's also noted. Now we've got this survey station here, which is considered an EL workshop with a productivity factor of 0.4. Now I believe this will need to be crewed. How many, maybe this doesn't need to be crewed. Hang on, how many Kerbals can we get in that? Yes. Yes, so this can have 4 Kerbals in it. So that means that we do not need this Mark I crew cabin. So we can get rid of that for now. That unobstructs this hatch, which is useful, but all of this stuff we're going to pack into probably a separate craft soon enough. Okay, So that looks good. That gives us a workshop, and with a workshop, we should be able to, well, we can pack out some of this stuff into the workshop potentially. Apparently not this recycling bin. The recycling bin we might be able to make on site, to be honest. I don't think we need that right now. So for now, that seems reasonably okay. We want to be able to build some stuff on site, right? That's for sure. So if we were to put this food container in here, well, we probably wouldn't want to do that. The docking port we want to have separate. Like, we want that to be part of this craft for our contract. So that's fine. The radiator panels. Now, we've got 4 of these, right? So 1, 2, 3, and 4. If we were to put these in, they would take up a decent amount of the storage space here. Can the Convertitron even go in there? No, this is a construction-only part. So this is going to have to be separate. And then this survey station here, for the time being, I'm going to move over to here. So we've got a carbon extractor here, and I would like to place the carbon extractor, for now, here. So this is a construction-only part. That's understood. We're going to put that over here for now. The smelter, that's a construction-only part as well. That's absolutely fine. The milling lathe does not go in the survey station. Okay, so that will have to be brought externally. Noted. So then the survey station I'm going to have out here for now. That'll be fine. And these we could have be like that. Okay, so inside of here, I would like to bring the tiny augers. Those don't go in there either. Interesting. So never mind then. We're going to have those be externally attached. Drill-o-matics, so we could definitely do that. They're pretty big. I think we would probably want to have these be external as well. So for the time being, we can do 1, 2, 3, and 4 of these. So we're just putting these parts off over here for now. So this is going to carry some of these parts, but not all of them. That's the idea here. And then these parts here are going to be separate. So I think we can probably put these guys inside of here for now. Okay, there we go. They went in there. So that looks good. Are we missing... Ah. So I think this might be why this wouldn't go in. Hang on. Fertilizer container? Yeah, that's too big, so that's understood. And this is a construction-only part. Okay. So that sounds good. So I think that this is probably what we're going to be landing with. Although we maybe... the radial holding tanks are pretty big. Yeah, we're going to carry some of these parts here, and some of these parts are going to be brought separately. So you can see this is getting pretty close to full at this time. And this should be absolutely fine to lift. That should not be a problem in the slightest. And we're going to detach a lot of these parts and move them around, right? So I just want to make sure that we've got a Stampatron ground anchor here. We also have a docking port in here, and the docking port needs to be... I'm actually going to do 4 of them, and we're going to have the docking port be here. And those are going to be removed and moved onto the proper location later on. So it'll be something like that. So then inside of here, we could bring another solar panel, and that would be a good thing to do because I don't think we have enough solar panels for our ground science. We need to be in here. There we go. So this would be 2 total solar panels in here, and I don't think we could fit one in here. No. So we could maybe fit some in here, though. So a solar panel would go here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That would almost certainly be enough. And we still have a little bit of space here. So what would we want to do with that? Well, we could bring, like, some lights. Or a light. Sure. That'll do. Okay. So this is fine for now. But what we're going to need to do, of course, is we're going to need to bring back in the lifter component of this. And we're going to need to make this into its own rocket. So that's understood. for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as the lunar lander. We're going to remake from scratch the lifter here. That'll be fine. We're going to remake that. And I'm going to retract this. So this is still a mess, but we're going to take a lot of these parts off and put them on our location here. So that's the idea there. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to ditch this, and we're going to call this the colony seed. That's the colony seed, actually. Let's do colony seed. There we go. And as an initial part here, this is just going to be a Probidobidine Octo 2. So we're going to do that, and then let's put in the survey station for now. Attached radially on the side of the survey station is going to be the 4 Drillimatics, like this. And we then don't need these others because they are in symmetry mode. Okay, and then the Convertatron I'm going to put on top of this, so right here. This is not exactly where we want to have it, of course. The greenhouse container does not like to attach on in normal ways. It only has the one attach point. So it basically has to go like that. And then it doesn't have other attach points here. So that makes it kind of awkward. That means that the lathe should go here. The greenhouse container should go out over this direction, like this. The fertilizer container should go something like... Hang on. This. There we go. And then we've got the smelter. And how do we want to attach the smelter? Well, I think the smelter for now should just go in here. Oh, I hate that. No, I'm going to have it be mounted like this. Okay. So that's a bit of a mess. There's no doubt about that. But this should be all of the components that we need to get started on having an outpost, in theory. Now, this is going to need to be able to land. And it's going to be a little top-heavy, I think. We're going to disassemble this and reassemble it into something that makes a little bit more sense once we get to our destination location and can start manufacturing parts. So that's the overall idea there. So let's put this into a fairing. This is going to be a like 2.5 meter fairing. And let's just do something kind of like this. A big old fairing. I'm going to move these guys up to be here for now. Okay, and then we're going to need a way to land this, right? So some form of propulsion here. So we're going to need something like this. I don't know if this is going to be enough Delta V to land us on the moon. We shall see in just a moment here. So let's see here. This is over Kerbal. I want this to be over moon. So this is plenty of thrust to weight. This is actually plenty of Delta V. So this is a little lighter than I expected it to be. That's good. We're probably going to have some awkward times with getting it set up, but I'm definitely a little concerned about getting this thing on the ground. So I'm thinking right now that we would go for something like modular girder segments to get this out a little bit wider, like this. And then we would put some landing legs that are way out here, because I'm concerned about this thing being top heavy and tipping over. So then these landing legs would go like this, out nice and wide, in theory. And that would be the landing. So this would start retracted, and then we would want to have quite a bit of liftoff power here. So we would put something like a... Well, we need a decoupler here for sure. So this would be a TD25 decoupler. And then I'd take a couple of big orange tanks, which these are not big or orange. These are big and orange. Perfect. Couple of big orange tanks like this. And then we put a mainsail engine on this. And the question is, what is this thrust to weight on Kerbal? 1.38? Okay, that is pretty doable. So from there, I would like to attach on a couple of additional, I think just 2 side boosters. That would be out over here And we are going to have those possibly be SRBs, I'm thinking. So these would be like Polluxes. Yeah, that's the way to go. So we would have it be something like this, place them about here or so, and then we can have them be hemispherical fuel tanks on top. That'll do. And we'll run our fuel flow from here to here. Those will get burned out very, very quickly. And then we'll do our strut connectors here and down here. That should be reasonably solid. Now the question is, will this thing get to the moon and get landed? Well, first we need to do this, then we need to do this. Not many stages in this. All we need to do is deliver this to a scouted location on the moon. So this is going to be a fairly equatorial orbit, but we're going to need to scout the moon's location as well, because we're going to need at least some amount of ore for our Drill-O-Matic juniors, right? So that will definitely be a thing. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to start working on our scouting craft, which should be relatively basic. Just an unmanned satellite with a survey system should do the trick. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.